To you all, and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast, right here on PHNX. My name is the mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Derek Montilla. This man next to me is always known as the vice mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Jesse Friedman, and of course I know him as the Thunderstick. But Jesse, speaking of the Thunderstick, the Diamondbacks absolutely blew up offensively in this series against the Chicago White Sox. I guess you could say in 2 out of the 3 games, winning 2 out of the 3 games, and doing essentially what they should be doing, taking care of business against a team that they should be taking care of business. I guess my first question before we talk about the series is, any disappointment here with the way that the White Sox were playing that the Diamondbacks did not sweep them? I mean, should we be expecting the Diamondbacks to sweep a team like the Sox?
I mean, sweeps are always just difficult in general, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, like from the White Sox standpoint, winning 1 out of 3 games is like an above average outcome for them. I think their win percentage coming in is like 25%, maybe even a touch lower than that. So yeah, like the D-backs did take care of business. I think you can call winning 2 out of 3 taking care of business, but they still did fall short of something that did feel pretty attainable, which is sweeping the series. That Saturday game was ugly for a lot of reasons, which we'll get into. Eric Fetty had a lot of base runners early in the game, but allowed a lot of base runners early in the game, but was able to work out of trouble and wound up throwing 6 innings of 2-run ball. D-backs lose that one 9-2. That was ugly pretty much across the board.
Well, and not to start off on the negative, but let's just get into that game a little bit, because that was the one they lost. And a lot of weird things happened in that game, including an intentional balk, which you actually had to write an article about because of how absurd the concept is. So explain to the people who may have missed it why Torey Lovullo chose a coaching strategy that involved an intentional balk.
Yeah, you don't see that every day, Derek. I don't know if I've ever seen that, at least not like at a game that I had ever attended in person. But yeah, basically the story goes, Martin Maldonado doubled somehow. It was like his 3rd extra base hit of the season. That was really where the mistakes really started for the Diamondbacks in that inning. So he's on second base with 1 out, and this is Thiago Vieira is on the mound for the Diamondbacks reliever, who's only been with the team for about a week and a half. And Maldonado, according to Lovullo, has a very strong reputation as a sign stealer. And people might be wondering, in the era of PitchCom, which Vieira was using PitchCom, I know maybe some people floating out that he was not using PitchCom. He was using PitchCom. You can clearly tell if you watch the replay. Gabby's punching in the buttons and all that. So he is using PitchCom. However, Maldonado could still tell what Vieira was throwing based on the way that Vieira was gripping the ball. If you're on second base, you have like a pretty good vantage point for that. You can kind of see a pitcher, rub up the baseball and get the grip the way they want it and all that. And so Maldonado, apparently, according to Lovullo, was relaying what pitch was coming every single time to the White Sox hitter. And he went 9 for 9, according to the Diamondbacks dugout. That is what they had deciphered. And so they were like, all right, we don't want Martin Maldonado
enough of this.
feeding pitches to the hitter for the rest of this inning. And so they decided that they would rather have Martin Maldonado at third base instead of second. So Torey Lovullo comes out and sort of bizarrely, I mean, anytime you see Torey come out to do anything but make a pitching change, it's a bit of an odd situation. You could tell Vieira was a little kind of shook by it, a little bit shocked to see Lovullo.
Why are you out here?
What are you doing here? And yeah, it was pretty easy to read his lips, frankly. If you go back and watch that clip of the game, Lovullo, I think 3 separate times during that mound visit, uses the phrase "drop the ball." He told Vieira to drop the ball, which caused a balk, which moved Maldonado from second base to third base. And then, of course,
it's got to be weird for, Vieira, obviously, for not really knowing what was going on, but just having Torrey look at you and telling you, drop the ball. You're like, wait, no, because if I do that, that's a balk. He's like, yeah,
exactly.
That's exactly what we're going for here.
Yeah, it was bizarre for sure.
Some people thought that maybe he was hearing the pitch comm, which I know
can't hear pitch comm from that far away.
It's a bone conductor technology, so it's not necessarily a speaker. It is a speaker, but it doesn't go into the ear. It goes into the hat, and when it touches up against your temple, it allows you to hear what is being said. There's actually bone conductor headphones you can get that is similar technology out there, right? And it's for usually sleeping or running or something of that sort, right? But yeah, there's no way. It maybe because there was a case in spring training when a catcher had his pitch comm turned up a little too high and the batter could actually hear it. Maybe with the catcher that would be different, but these were signs being stolen from Vieira on the mound. And yeah, like Jesse said, it was a grip situation where he was picking up on it. He's good at that. And I mean, again, that's a valuable. It's not illegal. It's allowed.
Yeah.
And Torrey's move. Moved him over to third, so he couldn't do that any longer, and then it still didn't work out for them because the next batter singled and drove him in.
I think it was the next pitch, if I'm remembering correctly. The next pitch from Vieira to Andrew Vaughn, which theoretically Vaughn now did not know what was coming, and yet it was still a fastball sort of left out over the middle of the plate, and Vaughn hit it right back up the middle. And Maldonado, of course, being a very slow base runner, likely would not have scored if Lovello had left him at second base. So it was that kind of night for the D-backs, right? Everything that could have gone wrong basically
definitely did.
And that sort of changed the course of the game a little bit. That tied the game at 1, and the Diamondbacks did not have a lead the rest of the way.
But they did have a lead in the other games, and they absolutely whooped the White Sox in Game 1 and Game 3. I got to be present for the whooping in Game 3, which lasted entirely too long there at the end. We needed to just get out of that a little sooner. But Diamondbacks win 7-1 on Friday. They won 12-5 yesterday. And, of course, let's take a look at the count presented by our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union to take a look at the numbers from this series as a whole. Diamondbacks outscored the White Sox 21-15. Again, very, very much felt like they outscored them more than that in this series. They outhit the White Sox, or the White Sox outhit the Diamondbacks 31-29. Diamondbacks.
That probably doesn't feel great, right?
No.
The White Sox outhit the Diamondbacks.
No,
in this series.
it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. But at the same time, it's because the Diamondbacks were fairly efficient. They got guys on base in several different ways. They were patient. They had some walks in there. Both teams were almost a push there for runners in scoring position. White Sox were 8 for 28 in the series. Diamondbacks were 8 for 26. Starting ERA, absolutely incredible here for the Diamondbacks. 1.35. Now, obviously, one of those starts is kind of a
Scott
McGuff start. 2 1/3, 1 earned run allowed. To the White Sox 9.24 starting pitching ERA, and then a little bit of a flip-flop there. Relief pitching was pretty good for the White Sox, 3.65, where the Diamondbacks was fairly atrocious at 7.90. But hey, yeah, I'll take that 1.35. Starting pitching, excellent. Jordan Montgomery, very good yesterday for this team. Didn't allow a run in 5 innings pitched.
Yeah, definitely another step in the right direction for Montgomery. Good to see 5 innings where he did not allow an earned run. And he had 18 whiffs in this game as well, which is a really big number for him. I think it was 10 out of 12 swings on changeups were whiffs, and then 6 out of 11 on his curveball, I believe, as well. So yeah, his stuff looked good. I would say the sinker velo was back to 91.5 or something like that. So the sinker velo, I don't really expect that to get back up to where it was at this point. There's certainly still time in the season. Maybe it ticks up the rest of the way, but we're not really seeing that on a consistent basis. Nonetheless, he was still effective in that game, and his command was better for sure. You saw more curveballs, more changeups, kind of dotting that lower outside corner to righties or just off the plate or just under the bottom of the zone. So yeah, a big step in the right direction for him for sure.
Well, we got to award our King Snake for the series, and that goes to our guy, Jock Peterson, that provided quite a lot of offense in this series. 3 for 9, 1 home run, 5 RBI, 5 runs scored, and Jock is just continuing on his streak of this being fairly what he does. I mean, hitting around 300, driving in runs, like we're seeing him get those runs in, even if it's not with a big home run like he had. But I mean, this is just turned out to be a very good signing. And I mean, Jock has just been a really pleasant surprise for this team at DH. Yeah,
he's been really fantastic. Jock, I don't have it in front of me. I think he has a 156 OPS plus 159, something like that. And that's the highest mark of his career. Jock Peterson is having the best season that he has ever had with the Diamondbacks right now. And obviously there's still a long way to go in this 2024 season, but he's been everything you could have hoped for in that DH slot.
I guess you could say Belgian draft horses, when they come to start knowing each other, could pull more weight, Jesse, is what you're saying. They're stronger together. A connected Belgian draft horse team is a dangerous Belgian draft horse team.
That is correct. That is what I was
how much Jock ran yesterday at the game? He so in the first inning, right? He gets thrown out trying to stretch it into a triple.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and then he tried to score. He scored from first on another play. He went from first to third on a different play.
He's got wheels.
He ran
he's got
a
wheels.
mile on the base pass yesterday. It was pretty wild.
He's a good base runner. That's one thing people don't realize about Jock, is that he's not fast, but he's a smart base runner. His reads are often very good, except for in that first inning when he got thrown out of third base. But that's more the exception than the rule for him, for sure.
We got anything else from this series?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sunday game was if the Diamondbacks had lost yesterday, I fear for what our chat would look like right now.
It's wild. Yeah, one game does make all the difference, right? But I mean, let's be honest. Right now, there are only 4 teams in the National League, Jesse, with a winning record. 4 teams. That's it. The 3 division current leaders and the Braves. And who knows how long the Braves will have a winning record for. But right now, every single team in the National League outside of the Rockies and the Marlins, and that's not a diss at them. They're both double digits, so they're distant away from the pack. But everybody else is within 2 games. Within 2 games of the 2 wild card spots, not the 1 wild card spot. Within 2 wild card spots, 2 games. I mean, I've never seen anything like this, and it makes it fun, but it also makes, taking a look at the wild card standings every single day kind of, something that seems ridiculous right now. Like, so much is going to change every single day that you can't really get too hung up on where the Diamondbacks currently are, as long as they are one of these teams, in the pack. I mean, the Mets are pretty much unstoppable since Grimace threw out the first pitch at a baseball game. Obviously, the answer there is we got to call Ronald McDonald and get him out here to Chase Field somehow, just to give the Diamondbacks that same kind of that rub. But I mean, this is a really close race right now, and we've spoke at length about how important it was for the Diamondbacks while they were waiting for Perdomo and Thomas and Gallen and Kelly and Erod all to come back, that they just needed to stay relevant. They just needed to stay close, and they are absolutely right there in this race. I think a half a game back right now.
Yeah, another just wild fact about this Diamondbacks team right now is that they have not played a game decided by fewer than 5 runs since not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before that.
Oh yeah, because they got blown out by the White Sox in the loss.
The last 3 games in the Padres series were all blowouts, or at least 5 runs or more. And then all 3 games in the Angels series were that way, and all 3 games in this White Sox series were that way as well. So I don't really know how I would look up if this is the longest span of games like that in Diamondbacks history, but I have to suspect that it is, because this is a very, very long time without the Diamondbacks playing a game that was like even remotely close by the end, which I kind of miss, Derek, honestly. I mean, I guess, if you're a fan of this team, maybe you enjoy the kind of stress-free nature of some of these games recently, but it's fun to have games be like close at the end too, right?
I mean, especially if, let's just say hypothetically, you were to do a show about the Diamondbacks as a post-game show, right? You would maybe want it to come down to the end so that people stay engaged as much as possible, and then we're excited to watch your show instead of checking out in the 3rd inning because the Diamondbacks have a 7-run lead. But whatever, it is what it is. You know, you can't have everything you want in life sometimes. I saw Elise in the chat said that she wanted Hamburglar as our McDonald's mascot. I'm offended because obviously I think that our mascot should obviously be Mayor McCheese. Like, there's no reason why we can't have two mayors on this set. But speaking of, I guess all-stars, speaking of important parts of the team, we do have to talk about Ketel Marte and the fact that he continues to have the incredible season that he is having. And he continues to put up some impressive numbers that, believe it or not, might back up the case of him being a front runner for the MVP currently, at least currently. If we're going to talk about the wild card standing, let's currently talk about what Ketel's at in the MVP race. Yeah,
we'll get into, of course, they just released the all-star voting update. Which, yes, Derek will be yelling about that a little bit later on the show. But MVP for Ketel Marte is very much a reasonable conversation to be having in terms of him being a front runner. A very big development that came down over the weekend is that Mookie Betts has a fracture in his left hand and is going to miss significant time. I don't think we know exactly how long. It's not a season-ending injury from what we've heard, but probably more than a month. I mean, if you fracture your hand, I don't think he's going to need surgery, but it's still going to take a while to come back from that. Probably safe to say that Mookie Betts is not going to win the MVP award just on the grounds of, if you miss 6 weeks or whatever.
Time missed.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to really have a case as an MVP candidate in that situation.
Not to mention that's going to keep his bat out of his hand, so it's not like he's going to have a chance to stay actively kind of, I guess, not stretched out, but, it's going to take him a while to get back to form.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the other, if we sort of put Mookie aside and look at the other MVP candidates in the National League right now, Ketel, you could argue, is number one, Derek. Ketel Marte this season leads all National League position players with 4 wins above replacement, which is a very, very big number. You're looking at on pace for around 10 by the end of the season, something like that, 9 or 10. F-WAR, he's at 3.1, which is also a big number, although not the highest. I believe there's one guy in the National League who hasn't beat an F-WAR, and that is one Shohei Ohtani, who is at 3.4 and has a 174 OPS plus compared to Ketel's 143.
Wild as a DH. That's wild to have that much value, right? Because WAR takes into consideration both defensive and offensive WAR. And we know Ketel's had a great year on both sides of the ball, but for Ohtani to have that much value simply as a hitter is incredible.
Yeah, it really is. But
Ketel's right there. He's not too far behind Ohtani as far as his numbers go.
Yeah, and we've never had a designated hitter win the MVP award in Major League Baseball, so that would be a first. But outside of Marte and Ohtani, Marcell Ozuna has had an outstanding season. He has a 181 OPS plus, even higher than Ohtani. He's at 2.7 B-WAR and 2.8 F-WAR. William Contreras had a really big season with the Milwaukee Brewers. He's at 2.7 B-WAR, 2.6 F-WAR. And then also in that kind of same WAR range, Freddie Freeman and Bryce Harper as well. All of those guys, with the exception of Contreras, have clearly better offensive numbers than Ketel Marte does. But Ketel Marte leads baseball, I believe, in defensive runs saved and has put up so much defensive value this season that his WAR numbers are actually higher than all of those guys. Again, with the exception of Ohtani. Ohtani hasn't beat just slightly on the FanGraph side. So he has a very legitimate case right now, Derek, which is pretty crazy to say.
And that's him saying that. That's not me saying that. I'm letting him speak because you're not going to believe me, but you'll believe Jesse when he says it. And I think the numbers absolutely prove that, not to mention the fact that we know Ketel is, had his career hitting streak. You could say what you will about it being singles and whatever, but let's get Luis Ariz out of the voting if we're going to talk about guys hitting singles.
I was going to ask where Luis Ariz falls in the NL MVP conversation.
Nowhere.
Luis Ariz is not at all involved in the NL.
But how could that be, Jesse? He's a 330 hitter.
Yeah, and he's
so good,
and he's leading. He's on track to start at second base in the All-Star game.
I'm mad.
We'll get into that a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, of course we will. But we thank you guys, of course, for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so now. Sign up for notifications. Excuse me. That way you don't miss whenever our wonderful shows go live. Drop us a like. We appreciate when you do that. Corbin loves it when you do that. We have an update on Corbin as well here coming up here that hopefully you guys will be excited about. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, make sure you're subscribed over there. Make sure you leave us a review. We appreciate those reviews, those 5-star reviews. Help us out a ton. Of course, if you are looking to save money on overpriced wireless plans, check out Mint Mobile and say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with a premium wireless plan starting at a ridiculous $15 a month. 15. How much are you paying? $15 a month for your wireless plan?
Am I paying more than $15 a month for my wireless plan?
You see, this is what happens. He completely checks out and doesn't listen to me during the ad reads. So then
I would never do that.
I probably should call him.
That would be ridiculous.
But he has terrible service, so that's probably why I don't call him, to get him to pay attention to me. But I'm gonna convince him to ditch his overpriced service and get in on Mint Mobile's limited time deal, getting 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month.
That is outrageous.
It's outrageous, right?
Now that I'm coming to terms with what you've been saying for the last minute, $15 a month is an incredible deal. So.
I'm used to people ignoring me. My wife ignores me. My child ignores me. Jesse ignores me. Damon always listens. I
was going to say, I'm locked in on your ad reads.
He never doesn't listen to me. But
I have thoughts too every time. Sometimes I just keep to myself though.
The wild part about people not listening is the fact that I'm calling them on Mint Mobile and I have crystal clear service, so they can hear me. They just refuse to listen to me. But excuse me. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. That's mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Diamondbacks. It's $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower, above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, well, of course, if you want to make baseball and all sports more fun, make sure to check out BetMGM Sportsbook right now. If you are a new user, you can download the Sportsbook app on iOS or Android or visit BetMGM.com. Sign up using our bonus code of PHNX, and when you do, all you got to do is deposit $10 into your newly created account, wager that amount or more on any bet, and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Of course, now is a great time to get down on the Grand Slam jackpot promotion every single weekend. If you bet place a $10 wager or more on any player to hit a home run every single weekend on BetMGM, that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If the player does hit a grand slam, not just a regular home run, but a grand salami on that day, you can win up to $50,000 daily prize or your share of that prize with every other winning bettor. So sign up right now for BetMGM, get down on the fun, and use bonus code PHNX. Place your first sportsbook wager through the Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You will receive $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for full details. And now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Bonus bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY, 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Well, it is Monday, and you know what we do every Monday around here. You know that every year, of course, on this show is our year. Every month on this show is Pride Month. Every week on this show, Shark Week. Every day on this show, Earth Day. But of course, on Mondays, we go to the mailbag. Damon, let's go!
My mailbox, always something interesting in my mailbox. I try to get to everything in my mailbox. And then once in a while, there's a letter that makes me go, wow, wow, my mailbox.
Shout out to our guy Megaran, by the way, performing on an enormous stage in the UK this weekend at the Download Fest, and that was amazing. I've never seen that guy.
Were you there?
No, I was getting sent videos of him hiding backstage and taking videos of how big the crowd was because
glad he made it.
Yeah, yeah, it was a little bit of an adventure of him getting to the UK. But Damon, let's get to the questions. What do we got?
All right, we got our boy Travis Moore starting us off per usual, and he says, if we got Gabby and Lourdes to perform the fusion technique, assuming together that they stayed as the team catcher, how would the outfield look upon the return of Alek Thomas in center field, Corbin in left field, McCarthy / Grichuk in right field?
So just to explain to Jesse, because I know he doesn't understand the fusion technique, that's a Dragon Ball Z thing where like two guys become one.
I mean,
it's self-explanatory.
Yeah,
right?
that I kind of got.
All right, yeah. So like in this case, Gabby would get taller But Lourdes would have
And
an
hair.
incredible arm. But yeah, the purple hair would stay for sure. But maybe it'd be like yellow and purple. I don't know. Well, that's a whole other thing. I could do a whole bit on that alone. But let's talk about the outfield because, yeah, I think he's fairly dead on. I think we've seen Torrey going to Grichuk a little bit more and not just using him situationally and trying to just have his bat in the lineup, considering what he's done for this team this season. But I think that what Travis said would be kind of the outfield if we had our perfect world.
So just so I'm clear, Lourdes is now
he doesn't exist.
He catches.
He catches. Yeah.
He catches.
He
Okay.
catches.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's like still like 6'7". It's kind of crazy.
That's
It's
quite
wild.
a build for a catcher. Poor guy. His knees that's going to be rough. I guess in this very interesting universe that is being proposed here, Alek Thomas certainly would be in center field. Corbin, left field is kind of has always felt like the most ideal position for him defensively. His arm certainly will play better there. And then in right field, Jake McCarthy has gotten quite a bit of run there this season, and Randall Grichuk has honestly been quite good against both lefties and righties. We've started to see Torrey use Grichuk more against right-handed pitchers, and we might continue to see that if he, continues to have good game after good game against righties. His splits this year are quite even. I think Travis is pretty much on point here. It'd be McCarthy in right against righties for the most part, and then Grichuk just kind of filling in the gaps. And you can also use Grichuk in the DH slot as well. I know we've seen Blaze Alexander get some run in that spot against lefties, but certainly possible we could see Grichuk use there more moving forward.
Well, and Alek Thomas could be back before we know it. And obviously this is going to be a problem, I guess a good problem, but a problem Torrey's going to have as far as balancing playing time and who's out there and, who's doing what at what time. So
it might be even more complicated than this because I don't see Lourdes
actually fusing
with Gabby. Yeah.
I don't know. I saw him in the dugout, nuzzling that one day. I still think that it's very much a possibility.
You don't find that realistic?
I very much find it realistic.
I don't. I have a hard time talking myself
he's a man
into
of science.
that one.
He's a man of science.
Yeah.
So anyway, what else we got there, Damon?
Next question comes from Piece of Yoshi, and he asks, are we ever going to have a fully healthy outfield? Is Alek Thomas's return immediately going to be followed by news that every bone in Lourdes' body has broken?
Well, we already talked about that. He's going to be consumed essentially into a single person with Gabby, but I know it feels like that, right? I mean, we have this injury to Corbin Carroll now, and it feels like, of course, everybody is very worried about this. We did get an update. I think we should just discuss it now.
Yeah.
I mean, we did get an update from Nick Picoro today on Corbin Carroll's MRI.
Yeah, Nick said that Corbin's left side issue does not appear to be serious. He underwent an MRI on Monday morning that did not reveal significant damage to his left side. And Nick also said it is possible that Corbin will be back in the starting lineup on Tuesday. So good news.
Miss any time at all.
Yeah, might not miss any time at all. Good news all the way around there.
Well, and so to answer that question, we absolutely could see a healthy outfield by the Phillies series or maybe just after that, depending on Alek Thomas's timeline and how he feels after he plays in those. I mean, imagine he's going to get at least one rehab start.
Yeah, it looks like he is. I believe he's playing in the AZL today, and then we'll travel to Salt Lake City. I think that's where Reno is right now. And then he will start playing for them on Wednesday. And then Torrey said he will likely be there through the weekend. So you're probably looking at next homestand for the return of Alek Thomas.
Well, still good to see him back. So hopefully by then nobody else becomes broken in that time frame. All right, Damon, what else do we got?
Next question here comes from the Craig Jr. 22 on Twitter, and he says, does Corbin Carroll take baths? Never mind. I got nothing other than how freaking deserving Christian Walker deserves to be in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that he is where he is at in All-Star voting. It doesn't make any sense. But I think that, again, Christian Walker at times is one of those guys that doesn't really get the national love he deserves. I don't know. I mean, it's like they have him on the MLB Network all the time. It's not like he doesn't get the actual opportunities. He's a very fun interview, so I think they like having him on. Interview. And he's a very good player. He's he is the best defensive first baseman in baseball. He is one of the best offensive first basemen in baseball. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me other than people nationally just really don't know who he is. And when they look at the, voting, they vote for the names they recognize. I mean, that's what it really feels like.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christian Walker is pretty clearly the third most deserving first baseman right now in the National League. You've got Bryce Harper and Freddie Freeman. Those guys are going to be there. You can pretty much bank on that right now. But Walker is in third place right now, I think, pretty clearly. You look at his offensive numbers. He has a better OPS plus than Pete Alonso, a better OPS plus than Matt Olson as of right now. And as you said, defensively, he's better than all these guys. So it really will come down, in my mind, to how many first basemen the National League wind up carrying. Last season, the National League had 3 first basemen, but the American League only had 2. So I think you can kind of go either way on that. And there's also, all the other variables of every team needing a representative. Some guys are going to make it just for that reason.
Sure.
No matter what happens with Ketel, whether he starts or not, he's going to make the All-Star game. I think we can say that pretty confidently. So Walker's not going to make it just on the basis of like the Diamondbacks needing a representative. So the path seems a little bit murky to me for those reasons right now.
Get out there and vote.
But yeah,
create fake accounts. Go vote. What are you doing right now? Why? I mean, you could have this screen open and get another screen open and go vote, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll try. Piece of Yoshi says people don't know defensive metrics, and the ballot doesn't show defensive metrics. And
yeah,
you're absolutely
people
right.
don't really vote on that. But even on the basis of his offensive numbers, he still is pretty clearly in third place right now. And if the NL does carry 3 first basemen, then he would be the most logical addition there.
I love Elise so much because this is my thought process, not just with all-star votes, but with awards in general. She says he totally deserves it, but to be honest, it might also help the D-backs have a better chance to re-sign him contract-wise if he doesn't make it. Laughing emoji. Not laughing emoji because I know you mean it deep down inside, because sometimes that's how it went with Zach Gallen with the Cy Young. Like if he had a Cy Young on his belt, we're never re-signing Zach Gallen, right? So it's not that I'm rooting actively against it, especially when they deserve it, but it does make you, maybe be like, all right, well, there's a silver lining to him not getting that acknowledgement. Ernesto says in the chat, I'm being 100% serious, but the D-backs need a rehydration program. Too many strains, pulled muscles from a team based in the desert. I think Ernesto works for Prime. I'm not sure. He might work for Prime Energy Drink, but I don't know. That's just my guess. What else we got there, Damon?
Next question comes from Austin Schattenberg, and he says, do we have an update on Castro? I know he's been throwing bullpens, but has not been activated as of this writing. He has been on an afterthought with the bullpen performing good as of late.
Yeah, you're right, because right now they don't really need him. And I'm not saying they don't need him. They can use all the arms they can
could probably
get.
use Miguel Castro.
They probably could, right? I mean, especially when he was on point. And again, who knows how long that injury was potentially impacting him for, and how much better he might be now that he's recovered from it and had a little time, just to a little time off.
Yeah, so the update there, he threw a bullpen, I believe, on Friday. I think he had thrown another one on Tuesday, so he's a couple bullpens in at this point. And I don't know exactly what the next steps are. I imagine the Diamondbacks would want him to face hitters.
An AZ complex league game?
Yeah,
probably.
maybe a sim game situation. And then eventually they'd probably want to get him up to Reno. And then he could rejoin the team after that. But yeah, I mean, being a couple bullpens in and being a reliever who doesn't need to build up workload, he really shouldn't be that far away. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Castro back with the D-backs within a week or so, if all these boxes can continue to be checked. And yeah, I do think they could use him. I mean, you've got some guys like, I think, feel pretty good probably about the positive role guys in this bullpen right now, Justin Martinez and Ryan Thompson and Kevin Ginkel and Paul Sewald. But, in some of these games where the D-backs have gotten behind, the relievers they've put in have not necessarily helped them out in those situations.
Sure.
And Miguel Castro, although, maybe he's not a guy you want closing games, maybe he's not a guy you want pitching in the 8th inning when you're up by a run, but he could still be really helpful, I think, to this team in some of those other situations. So hopefully he's able to be back here soon.
Yep. All right. What else we got, Damon?
Next question comes from Justin McDermott, and he says, I thought Druw Jones was trending in a very positive direction, but then this morning a report hit that scouts are still seeing him as a troubled asset. What am I to make of this?
First, Jesse corrected me on this. It's McDermott, even though McDermott is what you want to say when you see his last name. His last name.
Have you been saying McDermott this whole time?
No, I didn't. I said it one time and then you corrected me. And see again, you don't.
I mean, you know him personally, Jesse?
Yeah.
I don't. I've never met Justin, but he's been a very faithful follower of ours. And
so
and
he'll
of mine
defend him to his death. That's how Jesse is. Jesse,
I mean,
you owe this man some respect.
I apologize. Right? I apologize to Justin, but I just want to. For a fact that's how you pronounce it.
No, he doesn't know that.
Yeah, so I guess the other part of this is I could have been saying it wrong for the last 6 or 7 years.
Justin did say that Jesse did get it right the last time he was here present. But let's address his question.
Yeah, what was his question again?
See, I knew it.
Okay, Druw Jones. Yes, Druw Jones.
Is he a troubled asset? What are we missing here? I mean,
yeah. So I think the report that is being referenced here is from Bob Nightingale, if I'm not mistaken, which I think just came out. He has a note. This is from Nightingale, and I quote, "Scouts are openly concerned about Diamondbacks prize prospect Druw Jones, who was selected with the number 2 pick in the 2022 draft, one spot behind Jackson Holliday. They question whether his swing will work at the major league level." So, yeah, I'm not hugely surprised by this. I think it is important to note that putting up better numbers in single A does not necessarily mean like, oh, this is going to work in the big leagues, right? The fact that he has figured things out in single A to a degree does not necessarily mean that all of the mechanical issues that we've talked about are fixed. I think he's gotten better, but I still am seeing some of the elements that people have been concerned about for the last year or so. So yeah, I'm not hugely surprised by this. I wouldn't go too far and interpret this as like, oh, Druw Jones, has no chance of making it or whatever. It's still too early to be saying things like that, but he has a long way to go. He's still only at single A. He's trending in the right direction there. But when I talked with Sean Larkin about this, he was clear that like, we want to focus on what's going to work in the big leagues. We're not focused on having good numbers in single A. We're focused on the long game of what's going to work in the majors. And I think there are still some very valid questions to be asked about that with him.
Connor makes a great point. He said, has that not been a question with him all along? And it absolutely has. I don't think that's really new information as much as there's no positive, I guess, progression in that in that realm, right? Like the scouts are saying that that's still a concern. That was a concern when he was drafted. So, I mean, it's not really getting much better. However, we are seeing much better results. So
yeah,
whatever's working for him right now is working. Like you said, the results aren't what's important. What's important is making those changes to his mechanics now so that he can, find a way to make them work before, and then come up to a major league level and be a successful major league hitter. All right, what else we got?
Going to the next question here, and it comes from Sean McNally, and he says, I've mentioned this before, but curious if you guys think that Alek's defense is worth the offensive differential you get by benching Jake. Look at the career batting average, OBP, OPS between Jake and Alek. Thoughts on selling Alek at the deadline?
Ooh.
I don't like that last part.
Yeah, I didn't think you would.
My first overall thought is watching Corbin at times play in the outfield. Corbin's very capable of playing in the outfield, but that position is the position, I say more than any, that Alek would have gotten that, right? And I think that his value in center field and how easy he makes plays that are actually quite difficult, how easy he makes them look, just goes to show what a talented center fielder he is. I mean, Corbin, Corbin has the speed. He's a very, savvy baseball mind, and yet at times he still gets himself all twisted around out there in center field, going after a ball or, whatever. So like, there's just something very, very natural about Alek playing that position. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're talking about a guy, with a 900 OPS or something versus Alek, then yes, but I don't know if the drop off offensively there is significant, but we haven't seen Alek play baseball right now. So, I mean, he has to start playing before I could really answer that question, I feel like.
His Savant page was looking pretty good after the, 4 games that he played before he got hurt or whatever.
It felt like the leap year. It did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of joking about the Savant page thing, but yeah, there were some really valid questions to be asked going into the season of like, could this be the year where Alek Thomas really turns things around and figures it out? I think the ceiling with Alek Thomas is probably quite a bit higher than the ceiling with Jake McCarthy. He's a better defensive player, as we've already said, and his offensive ceiling, I think, is still higher than even what we've seen from McCarthy this year. Although McCarthy has been genuinely good. Like, McCarthy has a 774 OPS. He has a 124 OPS plus this season. Those are really good numbers. But with Alek, if you trade Alek Thomas, you are taking the risk that in 1 year, 2 years, whatever it is, you dealt away one of the better center fielders in baseball, right? Because he's so good defensively. Yep. If he can just get to the point where he's a league average hitter, a little above a league average hitter, you're talking about probably a 4 or 5 win player at that point. And Jake McCarthy, for as valuable as he is and as much as you very much want him on your team, I don't think his ceiling is quite that high.
I also just think the Chase Field factor is an important thing to distinguish as well. Like, we have a huge center field, and Alek covers the entirety of it. So that's massive.
And Elise also brought up a very good point, as she always does, where she said that, his value right now isn't very high, right? So it's not like there's a lot of time for him to return and impact the game enough to drive his value and his stock up between now and the trade deadline. So who knows if they would.
I mean, if you had like a crazy month, it'd be kind of interesting what kind of offers the Diamondbacks might get. But if he has a crazy month, then you're like, oh, we want this guy to be our center fielder. Probably, I don't think you want to trade him at that point.
That's exactly it.
It's a reasonable question for sure. I mean, I don't think it has to be like, oh, clearly Jake McCarthy is the one and only outfielder that you would consider trading on this team. But there's some risk with trading a guy like Alek too.
All right. Last question. What do we got?
Last question comes from Don's Bread, and he says, which D-backs player would give an Erica Day-esque handshake? Who has the best handshake on the team?
So I don't understand the context here of the Erica Day-ish handshake, but I imagine some sort of bad handshake. Because, like, of course, Mark and Erica are known enemies. They're known sworn enemies.
Mark loves a good enemy. But that's what I love about Mark.
I mean, he has so many beefs in the street.
Yeah.
He has too many beefs in the street, right? But
I mean, I do too. But
I know you do. You create beefs daily.
I found a new one this morning.
But here's the thing is I imagine that Erica gives some sort of, uninspiring, disappointing handshake, right? And I don't know, who on the team would you imagine giving an uninspiring, disappointing handshake? I don't really have a good answer for that. I can
answer that question.
I don't either. I mean, I feel like these guys are all very sincere. So, of course, just to upset Mark, I'm going to say Pavin Smith. Right? You'd get just a quick something, like maybe like a handshake, maybe a dap. Maybe you guys do the confused thing where you go in for the handshake, he goes to dap, and then you switch it up to the handshake and he goes in for the dap. Michael Dixon says Gino. That's probably a really good answer. He is the good vibes guy. Who gives the best handshake on the team? Of course, it's Geraldo Perdomo. Geraldo Perdomo is, in fact, the dap master. He has a different handshake, seemingly, with every single player on the team. And as is known, he also hangs out with his son, Merrill Kelly, in the dugout. So shout out to Geraldo Perdomo for giving out the best handshakes. And shame on you, Erica. Shame on you is all I have to say. Big shout out to Desert Financial Credit Union. Of course, they sponsor our numbers, and we love that they do because they're all about the numbers. And for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, and they help you with the numbers when it comes to your financial goals and what you need to do to achieve those financial goals. You can look to Desert Financial for checking and savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and so much more. When you open a checking account online right now, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Had a great time out at the Diamondbacks game yesterday. Not working, but kind of working a little bit, but mostly hanging out with my buddy Josh and enjoying a wonderful game. The Diamondbacks whooping up on the White Sox. Of course, this was a last-minute plan. I do want to give a shout out to Chris for helping me with those tickets. She gave me her tickets. She wasn't going, so she provided me to them. But I know not everybody has a Chris in their life. So if you don't, make sure to check out Game Time, because Game Time will help you out with those last-minute tickets. You can save up to 60% off by buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy shows, and so much more. You can save even more by choosing a section on the app and letting Game Time pick the seat for you. And then there's also exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game. So make sure not to miss out on all of the savings that Game Time has to offer. They have the lowest price guarantee, and if they don't get you the lowest price guarantee, Game Time guarantees they will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Of course, before we get out of here, we did want to talk.
Real quick, I just want to say I bought my tickets at Game Time yesterday.
Oh,
they
did
were
you?
incredible. My mom used the promo code. It was awesome.
There we go.
And I saw my boy Ryan out at the game.
Yeah. You mean Ryan Thompson, your dog?
Oh, that's your dog.
That's my dog.
I'm talking about my dog's Ryan Hanley.
I sat next to Ryan's dad, and I got to meet Ryan's dad, by the way. So it was a wonderful Father's Day because I love Ryan, and it was great meeting his father.
I love Ryan too, but I love our diehard Ryan, who's my boy.
Oh, well, I love diehard.
Our loyal listener.
Shout out to all of our diehards. Of course, get that diehard membership. If you haven't already, go phnx.com. Get Jesse's articles. You get a free T-shirt from the PHNX locker. So much more. So if you haven't, join the family. Join the family now. Of course, speaking of that all-star voting, Ketel Marte currently in second place. Let's take a look at that all-star voting. That's going to upset me. I guess he's not that far back. We can do this, you guys. Like, he's within shouting distance of Luis Arraez. Let's go.
I think he's within whispering distance.
Whispering
honestly.
distance, yeah. He can hear his pitch comp. That's how close he is.
Correct. I mean, less than 5,000 is that's a really small margin in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, maybe this is weird, but I almost found myself more encouraged than anything after seeing this. That Ketel really had a shot. There was a universe in my mind where Ketel was like 300,000 votes behind Luis Arraez or something after this first reveal. So yeah, he's in a decent spot. He's certainly, though, not in as good a spot as he should be, because frankly, Derek, if we look at the numbers between Luis Arraez and Ketel Marte, you've got Arraez right now with a 749 OPS compared to an 852 for Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte has been worth 4 B-WAR, as we talked about earlier with our MVP conversation. Arraez has been worth 1 B-WAR. So you're talking about literally a ×4 difference between Arraez and Marte. And the other thing I'll just say real quick is that Luis Arraez is actually not a second baseman at this point. He has not played an inning at second base for the Padres since May 22nd.
Come on! What are we doing here?
And on the flip side, Jake Cronenworth, who is currently ahead of Christian Walker in the first base balloting.
Stop it. Has been playing second.
Jake Cronenworth has been playing second base for the last month.
Sick.
So yeah, it's kind of hilarious to me how those things have flip-flopped. And by the All-Star break, Cronenworth will almost certainly have played way more time at second base than first, and Arraez will have played way more time at first base than second.
Man.
So we've got things all twisted up here. But Ketel over Arraez, the case there is pretty obvious.
And let's take a look really fast at where Christian Walker is, because we talked about it earlier. Currently in 6th place. Here's the list. Hate that. Hate Pete Alonso being above him. I don't know why. That makes me mad. It just does. But yes, the Jake Cronenworth thing, very upsetting. Very upsetting. Get your shit together, voters. I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna throw shade at you tomorrow, probably. I don't know. One of the things is coming. There's gonna be a short of me screaming in Studio C or something happening. But Diamondbacks, again, they are coming up against a team that we've talked about being one of the teams they should win against. However, the Washington Nationals have actually been playing some very good baseball as of late. They are 8-2 in their last 10. Let's take a quick look at the Nationals and where they currently are at a glance, because these guys very, very good lately. And of course, that's what happens. Like I said, though, sometimes it works out for you, like when the Diamondbacks caught the Reds and played all of their games against the Reds during probably the worst period of time during the Reds season so far, because they've been playing much better baseball as well. But these Nationals, they're right there. They are currently 1 game ahead of the or not 1 game. They're half a game ahead of the Diamondbacks in the wild card hunt. They're currently 8-2. Their starting pitching ERA is 3.77, which is 12th in MLB.
Where did that come from?
I don't know where that even came from. I don't know. I do not cover basketball. I promise you guys. That's the farthest thing from my mind. But 3.94 relief pitching ERA, 17th in Major League Baseball. They have a 668 OPS, which is good for 24th. So not great offensively, and minus 14 outs above average, which is 25th in baseball. So again, Nationals team, they haven't been great this year, but they have been playing better baseball lately, and the Diamondbacks really need to take them seriously because this is a team right now that they can't really, take for granted.
Yeah, the Nats just swept the Marlins, and they outscored them 15-2 in that series. Obviously, the Marlins, not a very good baseball team. But yeah, I mean, the Nats have been playing really good baseball lately. And they're a half a game up on the Diamondbacks in the standings. So this is not an easy series by any means.
Well, before we get out of here, let's just take a quick look at the probables. Diamondbacks have Slade going in game 1 of this series. Brandon Pfaadt in game 2. Ryan Nelson in game 3, going up against Jake Irvin there for the Nationals. Patrick Corbin, old friend there, playing for the Nationals. He's 1-7 with a 5.84 ERA. And then Mackenzie Gore there in the finale. Feels like the Diamondbacks kind of have obviously a little bit of an advantage here, 2 out of the 3 at least, but who knows what we're going to get on any given night out of Slade and Ryan Nelson, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Irvin and Mackenzie Gore have both been really good. Irvin with the 3 ERA, Mackenzie Gore at 3.24. Both of those are very much like their peripherals are also really good too. So this is going to be a challenge for the Diamondbacks for sure.
Well, we will be back here tomorrow with a post-game show, so make sure to join us for that after game 1. Drop a like before you go. In the meantime, we hope you guys have a wonderful evening. You can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse Ann Friedman. Of course, the People's Producer, Damon, is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. On Twitter, we are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark.
I just wanted to say real quick that Luis Ariz, you've made an enemy out of me, and I will destroy you, and I never lose.
You never want to be on his list. I'm just warning you that now. That's trouble for you, Ariz. But anyway.
Ariz didn't vote for himself in the All-Star ballot, right?
It doesn't matter. That's how it works. He was mad at James Outman just for existing. So I mean, sometimes you don't understand how his list works. But of course, you can keep track of that by following us on Twitter at PHNX_DBacks. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you guys so much for your time. We'll see you after tomorrow's game. We hope you have a wonderful day off. Enjoy your time this evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when you vote for Ketel Marte.
We all silly like the mayor.